Hey everyone, I'm Chef Dennis, and we are here with the third annual virtual blogger conference, and we're up to session number 4 right now for the day. And we're going to talk with the Blogger Network, and I have Josh and Kyle here to explain a lot about how ad networks work. And you actually called it a glimpse behind the curtain, I think it was. Is that right, guys?
Yep. Yeah, so we're gonna, basically be sharing everything that we've learned over the last, 2 years about ad networks.
Great. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do there and about the ad network itself and what makes it different?
Yeah, totally. So, like I said, my name's Kyle and this is Josh. Kind of a cool story. So I'm one of the founding partners at the Blogger Network. I come from the online advertising and online agency kind of B2B space. And we met up with a group of just professional bloggers, and we were both really interested in what each other did. And we ended up forming a company together because we saw such a need in the ad space for bloggers. An actual ad network that will rep and protect bloggers. And Josh here is actually Dennis's account rep. And so they started talking, and so we thought that it would be really cool to have. Josh is one of our actual human beings behind the account management and ad operations department. So he'll be able to give us kind of from the front line insights of what's happening and what bloggers can do to make the most out of their ad revenue.
That's right.
Sounds good. Now, I found you kind of accidentally through a Facebook group, and I had heard other bloggers talking about it. And this is what makes us different: is it was also built kind of by bloggers for bloggers, and because there was just not a really good way for us to advertise. And lots of times we got ads that just weren't a good fit, and just it was more or less we were just doing it for money, which we're all trying to make money, but we like to be a little bit particular about how it comes across. So what seems to make yours different is you're a little more focused on ads that work for us rather than just ads that simply make money. There's a lot of companies out there you could work with and they would just pay you, but it's not really necessarily a good fit. How do you go about finding the companies that you work with?
So we go through a really rigorous process in who we actually do work with. Our kind of Polaris principle is to always do what's best for the blog. And that principle guides kind of every decision that we make. So when we have an advertiser come to us and say, "Oh, I really want to advertise on blogs. I only want this, and I want them to do this, and I'm only going to pay you in these terms, and I'm going to take at least 50% or whatever it is," then we just say no way, right? And because we believe that there's power in numbers, and that's kind of twofold. So the first way that there's power in numbers is, because we have such a large network, when we say no to advertisers, they say, "Oh my gosh, I'm about to lose so many sites. I will change my terms, or I'll work with you," right? The other way that there's power in numbers is that there's power in your data. It is so hard and it's so sticky and convoluted how advertisers pay you and what your actual performance is, that no blogger has the time to really dig into their data and understand what the heck is going on. And we'll touch on this kind of later in the presentation, but being able to protect bloggers and being able to do what's in their best interest has been our guiding principle from the beginning, because again, we started this company with a group of bloggers.
And I think an important additional note is, like, when we're working with those ad providers, we want to do what's best for the blog, which means helping enable you to do and create the best and quality content that's out there. And so that means even further testing, whether it's ad blocking, filtering, and doing all that time so that what appears on your blog earns you the greatest revenue, is friendly and nice, so that you can spend more time with your family, as well as not having to worry about the ads or getting cheated out of whatever an ad provider wants to get it from you.
Yeah, I noticed one thing in particular about how you guys do ads was that at the bottom of my pictures, the ad scrolls. And at first I'm like, whoa, what's that? And then as I got used to it, I was like, oh, that's not bad. that's not really obtrusive, and it's kind of and you know, it's a heck of a lot better than those floating ads that come across the page.
Yeah,
I agree.
totally.
Yeah.
You know, because, I mean, like you said, there are a lot of different ways to make money with ads, you know, and it's about picking the ones that work best for your site and work best for you. You know, so all of our, you know, ad setups with your account managers are all custom. So, I mean, you could call Josh tomorrow and say, take off those in-image ads, and Josh would take them off, you know, because you're the boss, right?
I kind of like them. It was different at first. You know, I had not really seen too many like that. And you know, one thing it's also forced me to do is it's forced me to start shooting vertical, because I hated shooting vertical. So now I'm finding that I have more space for my picture if I shoot vertical.
Totally.
That's awesome.
So, you know, again, you forced me to get off my butt and work a little harder to get the right kind of image. So that's always a good thing. But yeah, you know, you're very transparent in terms of your dashboard that shows our earnings continuously, and on how you pay and when you're paying. So, and that in itself is different. I mean, I only was with a couple other networks, and it was really, you never really knew what you were getting until the check came.
Exactly. Yeah. And it was always different, right? With kind of no explanation.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, all right. Well, you have a presentation for us. I'll let you guys get into it, and then if anyone has questions along the way, please ask them, and we'll come back and answer this.
Okay. Fantastic. I'm just going to pull this up right here. All right. Go up here. I'll share this screen. Okay. Can everybody see that?
Yeah, there we go.
Okay.
Yes.
Cool. So we're going to jump into this. So this is basically a look behind the curtain. So first off, who are we, right? Who is the Blogger Network? These are just pictures of some of our team members. We are a monetization partner for bloggers that is built by bloggers for bloggers. We have an awesome team. We are as rigorous in our hiring process as we are with our ad providers, because it's about, you know, the right people that are trustworthy and that are honest and are good, you know, communicators with our bloggers. But the question is, why do we even exist, right? And before we get too theoretical into the purpose of life, why does the Blogger Network exist? There are other ad networks out there. When we started the Blogger Network, there were already other ad networks. So why start ours? And the reason why is because this is an industry publication of what the ad industry looks like. So if you look from left to right, left is the marketer, so that's the brand, right? Let's say it's Kraft. All the way on the right side is publisher. That's where the blogger lies. This is how many middle parties there are before an ad lands on your page.
These are major partners.
Yeah.
So take this, and it's exponential for all the small little mom and pop shops.
And each of these guys is going to want to take 50% of the cut as it goes through their system, as it goes through their servers. This is why when bloggers don't have the resources or time to manage their ads almost on a full-time basis, they make pennies, right? And so we looked at this as the industry and said, this is ridiculous. I mean, this is crazy. I cannot believe, you know, how many different providers there are that are all trying to get their fingers in the pot. And so our job as the Blogger Network is to disintermediate as much as we can for the publisher. So we stretch right now from the right side publisher all the way to about the middle of the page. And our goal is obviously to get all the way to the left, because there's just more dollars for the blogger, the more that we disintermediate. The other thing is that each of these companies has budgets, they have funding, they have high power CEOs, and a blogger has a very, runs the risk of getting taken advantage of, right?
Especially because they have such rich content. You're making good content, you're reaching quality individuals and users to your site that all these marketers on the left side want to place their ads on your site. But because of the intermediaries, a lot of that revenue or that focus gets lost.
Exactly. So what we're going to talk about today is when you're looking for an ad network, to pick the one that's best for you. But to pick the one that's best for you, you need to understand these 6 principles of what you're going to be getting. The first one is your ad setup. Then there's reporting, customer service, the rev share that you'll be getting, other tools they may offer, and then finally the time that you'll be spending managing your ad network. We'll be referring to this slide a lot. It's kind of our living and breathing table of contents. So before we get into this, and I'm really going to let Josh take the reins here, but we're going to be using a lot of terms that get thrown around in the industry pretty loosely, and a lot of times people don't know what they mean and which ones mean what. So we're going to go through just really quickly some of the terms that will be used when you do talk with an ad network, because if you know the terms and you can talk their language, that's the first step to being in control of what's going on.
So yeah, many of these may be familiar with you, but let's just talk about them from an ad standpoint. So users are the people who come and visit your site. It's also tied to sessions. So every time a user visits your site, it starts a session, and then you have time on site, however long they stay, reading or doing whatever they do. Now, both of those combine into page views. So every time your page loads is called a page view. And when the page loads, we generate what's called impressions. Impressions are both total impressions and filled impressions. Total impressions are for every ad that's on your site is equal to 1 impression. So say you have 6 ads on your site, 1 page view would be 6 total impressions. It's sent to the server, and it's called the inventory, where it's bid on, and then once a provider wants to fill an ad, it's sent back to your site, which is called your filled impressions. Because of there's a lot of bots on the internet, or people may bounce with the bounce rate, not let your site load or misclick. Typically, filled impressions are slightly lesser than total impressions. But our goal as a network is to try and get those as equal as possible, because ad providers want to see that you're a quality site. The closer that they are, they're like, oh, people are staying, looking at the content. I want to pay for ads there. Now, breakage is any time that an impression gets lost, whether in the transfer between servers, maybe the server had to reboot, or it got lost just randomly.
Somewhere in the internet.
Somewhere in the internet floating around. That is breakage. Typically, industry standard is 10%, and we work really hard to keep it under that rate for bloggers, so you get the most bang for your buck. Bounce rate we talked about. CPM is your cost per mil or cost per thousand. So this is the effective rate that advertisers, when they go to bid for ads on your site, buy them in batches of 1,000. So this is the average price of everything providers have paid for within a day per 1,000 impressions. eCPM is a extension of CPM. So if you had 9 apples and you sold each one for 80 cents, but so if you had 10 apples and you sold 9 of them for 80 cents each, the last apple you had to throw away because it's rotten or it had worms in it or something, you still had to pay for it, the growing cost of fertilizer, whatever. So what eCPM does is it includes that last apple, that 10th apple that wasn't filled, into your revenue. So it takes everything the ad providers paid, divide by 10 instead of just the 9 apples. So it gives you a more holistic view of what you're really getting paid for on your site.
And the difference between CPM and eCPM is so important to understand, because you will have some ad networks, and I'm not going to name any names during this whole presentation, but they'll say, hey, come to our network and I can guarantee you $3 CPMs. Well, that's great. But if they only fill 10% of your ads with a $3 CPM, then your eCPM is more like 30 cents, because your eCPM takes into account all of your inventory and then what you were paid for all of your impressions, not just this is the highest CPM that we'll be able to get you. And this is the difference between just an ad provider and a fully managed solution, which we'll also get into.
Correct. And then RPM is your revenue per million. So that's just like how much money you made for every 1,000 impressions.
Yeah. So RPM is how much you make per 1,000 page views. So so your RPM is not just your ads. Your RPM is how much money you make for every 1,000 page views. And that's if you sell an ebook, or if you sell a training course, or if you have affiliate links. Like if you make $1,000 in a month and you have 1,000 page views, right, then your RPM is 1. So if you have 6 ads and you have, about $1 ECPM across those, then your RPM is $6 for those 1,000 page views, plus whatever you make from affiliate or selling your own products or items.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Now, net terms at the bottom is something we'll touch on later, but this is the accounting terms for when you'll get paid after an ad is served on your site. So they could be 30 days, 45, 60, and some even up to 90 days after the end of the month in which an ad's served.
Exactly. So that all calculates at the end of a month. So if you have net 30 terms and you serve an ad on your site on April 1st, you won't be paid 30 days from April 1st. You'll be paid 30 days from April 31st or 30th. I can't remember which one April is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this is really important. So ad setup is, the number one question you have to ask yourself when you're going to any ad provider is, what do you want? Okay. What do you want out of your site? And there's 2 basic schools of thought. There's yield versus total revenue. Okay. These schools of thought are really going to affect who you go to and what you want out of your ad network. So let's define what yield and total revenue are and why they're different. Yield, by definition, is, the way that we're going to use it is the highest earnings for the lowest amount of ads, right? So basically, how many ads can I put on my site for the most amount of money without going overboard? And when you're looking for yield, what you're going to want in terms of reporting from your ad provider is ECPM, because ECPM is really going to drill down into your ad performance by every single ad, right? You're going to want to know exactly how many of your ads are filling for what. Total revenue, though, is just the highest earnings regardless of number of ads. And I'm not saying that either one is good or better than the other. It just depends on what you want. You'll go to a lot of websites that have listicles and all those things, and they may have tons of ads, and their goal is total revenue. So that's not any better than an ad or than a site with just 6 ads, right? So these are going to make a lot of difference as we go into the different ad types. But when you're choosing an ad network, you're going to want to know, do you want the most yield or total revenue? And if total revenue is your focus, then your focus is really just going to be on RPM. You're going to want to know how much you're making for every 1,000 page views, because the performance can be all over the map. You're going to add as many ads to get to that revenue threshold that you want. So when we think about setting up our ads, you want to think about your viewability and how many ads you're going to be putting on your site. How many ads can your readers handle? Now, this is a really interesting question, especially among bloggers right now. There is a trend of some of the more influential bloggers taking ads off their site, and there's other bloggers that are adding more ads onto their site. The truth is what we've seen, it doesn't make a difference of your traffic by how many ads you have. You will get bounces if you have full page, takeovers that are taking over the screen. You may get some bounces, but what we've learned is adding more ads onto sites has really never made a significant amount of change in traffic, right? So in terms of how many ads can your readers handle, it's not readers bouncing, but it's readers having a good experience. And it's about them having the experience that you want them to have when they're on your site.
Whether the ads are getting in the way of their reading, like flying over the center, or if it's just passively on the side that they see as they read your content.
Exactly. So don't be afraid to put ads on your site, and don't be afraid to experiment with how many ads you put on your site, because people are really not going to bounce. They may complain in your comments. And if so, then you should listen to them. But a lot of times they're the vocal minority. They understand that they're getting content for free. And once they click a link to go into your content, they're committed and they want to get that content. Now, if your ads are really preventing them from getting that content, then you'll definitely see some bounces. But you'll want to know how many ads can your readers handle and how many do you want them to have to handle. How many ads can your site handle is really a hosting question. When you add ads onto your site, it will slow your site down just a little bit. Even though they're loading differently, it will slow the load time of your site a bit. And so if you're going to add ads, you're going to want to bulk up your hosting and upgrade to the next tier, or work with your host to do time checks and site load checks to make sure that people are still having a really good experience. One of the number one reasons why people bounce is because of slow load time. And so you'll want to make sure that your host is aware. I mean, if you're going to be adding 10 ads to your site, then that, you're definitely going to want to upgrade your hosting. And then advertisers pay for higher visibility. Josh, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so visibility, just like if you owned your own business, your own blog business, or say if you owned a car shop and you wanted to get people in, visibility is how your ad is seen. Is it on the billboard where everybody sees it, or is it a little lawn sign hidden behind a tree in your front yard? Visibility means everything. So the more visible your ad is, and it isn't being covered up or mixed in with other advertisements all around it, advertisers want to pay more for it because it's a premium spot. People are going to see it. They're going to stop. They'll click on it. But if it's listed next to 10 others, or it's buried at the bottom of a post called an orphan ad, away from everything, advertisers aren't going to want to pay for it. Often bloggers feel like to keep the look of their site, they can put the ads in those obscure places and they'll still get paid for them. You may or may not get paid for them, but over time, advertisers will stop filling it because it's never being seen. Yep.
So that's going to go into your ad setup. Is how you set up your website makes your site more amenable to ads. So in terms of sizing, when you're getting a new site design or designing your site for the first time, you want to make sure that your content areas are at least 728 pixels wide. The reason why that is because you can put a leaderboard ad on top of your content, and those are typically high-paying ads. You'll want to make sure that your sidebars are at least 300 pixels wide, which you'll see the 300 by 250, because those are the sizes that those sidebar ads come in, and those are the sizes that they pay the most for. So setting up your site right the first time will help you make the most out of your ads.
Exactly, and able to capitalize on these two sizes, the 728 by 90 and 300 by 250, that make up the bulk of advertising. Over 85% of all ads come in either of those two sizes. The next step is that once you've made your content that big, you want to make the layout consistent. First of all, and primarily, it's easier for the reader to follow if the layout for every page is the same. Also, for ads, it allows the ad to be in the same spot so that they can pay higher prices and know what they're getting each and every time that your site loads. But as we talked before, as you add ads to your site and make it consistent, you may have to increase hosting bandwidth so that you can keep the same quick load times as well as user friendliness for your blog.
Totally. So like we just talked about, those are the common sizes of ads, are 728 by 90 and 300 by 250.
Static and dynamic ads. So static ads are ads that you'll see that just pop up. They may be an image and they don't change the whole time that you're on the site. Dynamic ads may be like a slideshow. It may shuffle between a few images or a few different ads, or it may even be a video ad that's playing on the side of your screen. Now, the industry is shifting from static ads because they're noticing that people are ignoring them and not using them to video display ads. So just as much as we don't like running into video ads on your site that may take a few more resources, the industry is quickly shifting just in the last year from static ads to video ads because they notice that viewers are watching them, paying attention to them, and clicking through to buy their product or fill out their survey, whatever it may be.
Yeah, these are non-audio playing video ads, but so you don't have to worry about that actual audio playing, and you can block them if you want to. Know that if you do block those ads, you are going to make less. So exactly. Again, it's what do you want, right? Mm-hmm. Do you want to make the most out of your ads, or do you want to preserve maybe experience if you're nervous about those kind of autoplay videos without audio?
And this is one of those behind the curtains kind of look, right? As a marketer or a company, you want the ads that are going to get people to your site to buy your product or to see your new software, whatever it is. And so as soon as you make that blog to monetize all this wonderful content that you have to realize that you're also working with people who are trying to monetize their wonderful software content or new toy. And so it means that you can't have 100% say in, I can only do this or this. Like, you can say that, but it has to be a little give and take.
Totally. And then asynchronous means that your ads load independently of your site. So you'll want to make sure when you talk to any ad network or any ad provider that their ads are going to load asynchronously. Otherwise, it totally takes way more bandwidth on your host, because your site will not load until those ads load as well. So you'll want asynchronous so that your site can load without your ads yet loading, because ads typically do load a couple seconds later because they have to process all of the data of the user on the site, and then they'll load.
And now these display ads, they're the least revenue generating, if you will. They can pay anywhere from a penny up to $2.50 CPM. It really depends on the type of display ad and how important and how quality the user is visiting your site.
Yep. Okay, so these are the ads that Chef Dennis was telling us about. These are the in-image ads. So you'll see below, so this image was just taken from one of our sites. It's a dessert recipe. And on top of the image on the very bottom, there is a little ad on the on the actual image. It has an X so that users can click it if they want to see the bottom of that bamboo background. But these auto-select the images on the site. They're very low profile, but they are like an extra place to put ads and to monetize your site. They're very easy to add. They're also easy to block. So if you have a sponsored post and you have a really nice image that you put on Pinterest and you don't want an ad to show on it, it's very easy to contact your account manager and have them block that URL. And these do pay a little bit more because, you know, they don't have that same kind of sidebar feel. They are part of the content.
And people like looking at pictures, right? All the quality photographs you take. So they're looking at it and there's an ad.
Yep. And so these are going to pay a little bit more, but between $2 and $4 CPM. These are high impact ads. So you'll see that there are Sobe ads on this slide. Unfortunately, we're not getting paid for all these impressions on it, unfortunately, but you'll see these on a lot of professional websites. But these are called high impact ads. So these are ads that really pack more of a punch, that take up more screen space or jump out at you. They don't necessarily have to be annoying. I mean, this would not inhibit you from seeing the content, but they can be anything like a sidebar skin, a full skin, like it'll take over your background, like an under display. And these, can also take up your top 1 to 3 static ads as well. And so because they take up so much real estate on your site, brands do see higher performance. They do see more clicks, and they're going to pay you more.
In part, short and simple, the ads are viewable. No matter where you're scrolling in that content, they put the skins on either side. You're going to see that Sobe. Maybe by the end of that recipe, you're like, oh, I need to go get a Sobe before I start making this wonderful cake.
Yep. So, I mean, again, this whole thing is about how to pick the right ad network. So when you are talking to an ad network, you're going to want to ask, do you do high impact ads? And you can ask that whether you want them or not, but you want to make sure whether or not they serve this or they're able to do these type of ads. The next are rich media ads. So these can be a little bit more subtle, but also they require like a scroll over or the mouse going to those rich media ads for them to pay out. So you'll see at the top right, there's a little kind of corner peel. If you were to hover over this in real life, when you hovered over that top right-hand triangle, the ad would actually reveal, and it would look as if it was peeling a corner off of your site, and there would be an ad there for a very premium brand. These can be all sorts of things. You will see display ads that if you hover, they show like a loading bar, and if you hover over the ad for like 3 seconds, it will show a video, or it will show a visualization, or it will expand. These are just much more subtle and more interactive ways for ads to get more space on your site if the user volunteers.
And that's why they perform so well, and they're willing to pay such high CPMs for them, because it requires the user to do something. If the user's willing to go hover their mouse over the corner peel ad and see the video or whatever it is, sure, we're going to pay 3 times as much because we have a dedicated ad viewer.
Yep, totally. So these are going to pay between $15 and $20 CPM. Now you'll know that these are higher paying, but not every user is going to scroll over them. So you won't. So you will only be paid for those users who do interact with the ads.
So ad placement and ad quality. The best places to place the ads on a page is next to the content. Like we talked before, you don't want ads randomly in obscure places. If it's next to your recipe, in the image, between the content, above the post, where people are looking, that's what ad providers are going to pay for the most. Orphan ads are ads that are super far from the content. Maybe one post that you have is 500 words and you have an ad 1,000 pixels down below your comments in your footer. That could be considered an orphan ad, because how many of us are going to scroll through a ton of white space before you go and look at that ad? Then the quality of ads is one thing that we pride ourselves in. We want family-friendly ads that are enabling good content and good ideas to be spread throughout the world. So we work really hard on creating filters, which are called block lists, as well as categorizing the ads correctly so that we can say, hey, we don't want any alcohol ads, or we don't want any gaming ads, or whatever it is, to keep your site clean and working well.
Yeah. You can also, with your account manager at the Blogger Network and some others, you'll also want to ask if you can make a custom block list. So let's say that you only blog about Whole Foods, then you want to block all of your processed food ads. You can add custom content filters because the advertisers have to categorize their ads, and so they can be blocked. Just know though that the more blocks you put on your block list, the less you'll make from your ads, because a lot of the premium advertisers are processed foods, or they are certain things. So by limiting the amount of competition for your ads, you will make less.
But the great thing is that you can choose what fits your content.
Exactly. So what do you want?
Yep.
It all comes back to what do you want? And lastly is categorization. This is important to know because sometimes even through our network, you will get an ad that does play audio, or you will get an ad that you feel is inappropriate. This is an issue that's worldwide. Advertisers will miscategorize their ads, trying to slip through the filters, trying, to get in front of people for way less than they should be paying, or on sites that they shouldn't be on because they're more noticeable. This is something that we work night and day to fight, and so does Google, which is nice to fight a battle with the same company like Google. So,
and with that categorization, it's nice to know when you go to a company, you need to ask if they have a service account manager like myself who's willing to help you fight that, because a lot of companies will just throw the ads and say, hey, I don't like, you email them, say, hey, I don't like this ad. Like, too bad, because they aren't willing to create a custom block list for you.
Yeah. The last thing that's going to affect the quality of your ad performance is your visitor quality. I put on here cookies because everyone that browses the internet has cookies all over their browser. These cookies help websites identify who the person is, maybe what their interests are, if they visited certain sites, what they've browsed. They're really not invasive. They're everywhere. They're going to be everywhere forever. It's how Google knows who you are when you go to log into Gmail or when you're on other products or whatever. Your site, you can have 2 different sites that blog about the same content, that post in the same frequency, have the same amount of traffic, and they'll make different amounts on their ads. This is because of visitor quality. One site may attract 25-year-old females, and the other one may be attracting 14-year-old males. For some reason, that's the demographics of your content, and those advertisers are willing to pay different rates for a 25-year-old female and a 14-year-old male. The other thing about visitor quality is that when you go and see ads on your site, so let's say that you're a member of the Blogger Network and you go on your site and you see an ad for something that doesn't fit with your content. You're a food blog and this is talking to you about a WordPress plugin, and you want your ads to be around the same content as yours. It's because that ad is being served to you. It's not necessarily specific to your site, right? So if I go to your blog and it's about DIY crafts, I'm probably going to be getting software ads because those are the sites that I've visited and frequented in the past, right? So a lot of times the ads that serve don't have much to do with your site, but they're more about the audience. So there are parts of managing your ads that are outside of our control. And this is the number one thing, and it's the quality of your visitors. If you happen to attract a lot of visitors who are just barely on Tiffany's.com, you're going to make more from your ads because Tiffany's is going to want to retarget those people who filled out a shopping cart and didn't purchase. So this is the number one thing that's outside of your control. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. Unless you want to start blogging about Tiffany's diamonds, right?
Which could be smart. So next, another big shift in the industry is that this year will be the first year that more ads will be served on mobile devices than on desktop. So with the recent Google algorithm change, promoting and ranking sites who are mobile friendly higher in their SEO rankings and other rankings that they have, moving your site to be optimized for mobile advertisements is key to your future revenue.
So when it comes to monetizing your mobile ads, the number one thing that you can do is get the right setup for your site on mobile. So here we have on the left, we have a phone that does not have a responsive template. Those are obviously terrible. I think we all know that. A site that does have a responsive template, however, is still not optimal because they usually don't resize the ads. They will crop the ads. Or they will put all the ads at the bottom. When you create a responsive template, you categorize as a designer or whoever built your template. A responsive template is going to basically cut your website in like 3/4 or half or like 1/3, and it'll be left or right, and then it will choose which goes on top of the other. And it will always put your content first. And since your ads will be to the right or left, it will cut those off and put them all at the bottom.
And then all of those ads are now orphan ads.
Yep. They're all away from content. A lot of them never get seen, and advertisers know that. So if your ad performance is struggling and you have a mobile responsive site, it's likely because 40% of your ads on mobile are being filled at like 10 cents. Because advertisers just don't want to be there. They don't want to get seen on mobile when it's not a dedicated template. On the right, you'll see this is a dedicated mobile template. So you'll have the content, and within the content, as you scroll, you will have a perfectly sized ad for the mobile device that your site's being viewed on. Again, so the responsive template is going to load slower because it's loading everything from your site, whereas a dedicated mobile template only loads the most important things, which are the content and your ads. And then all of the menus are in bars before so that your site loads faster, your ads get much higher viewability, and you make way more.
And I think another important note to make is that a template is typically hosted on a separate server from your desktop. So maybe you had 10 ads on your desktop, and now you also have a template on a separate server. Maybe you don't need to increase your hosting resources because now 60% of your traffic is going to mobile, which is a different server. So they're both loading faster, and it saves you money in the long run while making you more money because people are seeing the ads the ad providers are serving.
Yep. And it's just a better overall user experience for your blog. This is our shameless plug about mobile because we have been just fanatic about mobile for a long time now, but we do have a free ebook that I can give to Chef Dennis for him to share with anybody who wants to read it. But it's basically everything that bloggers need to know about mobile. And we do have a dedicated mobile product for all of our members that's called Flight. And it hosts your site separately, so it takes a lot of strain and resources off of your host, and it displays your site. You can customize it, but it displays it perfectly for mobile devices. And as you can see on the left here, that ad is served in content. It's the perfect size for that phone, and our mobile advertisers love it, and so they love to pay for those ads.
And as a ad operations person, account manager, working with this every day, I love it because I'm able to make bloggers more money by serving mobile specific ad tags to a phone instead of just shooting a shotgun trying to see what we can get.
Yep. Okay. So let's get back now to the table of contents. We've talked about ad setup. We've talked about the reporting terms that you're going to want to look at. We're now going to touch on the rev share, I believe, and all of this kind of has a factor of customer service. So when you're picking your ad provider, you're going to want to know what your options are for the rev share. Some ad providers will just give you a flat CPM rate. So they'll say, I'll always pay you $1, I'll always pay you 50 cents. And they'll keep the rest, and they don't have to disclose to you what they made on those ads. The other way that you can go, or that some ad networks go, is percentage based. So the industry standard for a lot of the larger networks is somewhere around 40 or 50%. That for us was way too high. And so our rev share is actually a sliding scale. So we will take anywhere between 5 and we max out at 20% of the percentage commission that we take. And we only take 20% if your eCPM is over $1.20. That's really, really high. So our average across all of our sites is about 17%. And we did this because we only want our commissions to be coming from bloggers is if we're performing, right? Others just have a flat fee, and whether or not they're performing, they're going to take their same fee. So we take the lowest rev share in the industry. The last way that some ad networks may work is by taking some of your ad spaces. So they may take 1 or 2 or 3 of your ad spaces and say, these are ours. And then all of the other ad spaces that we'll manage for you, you get to keep 100%. And that's a model that, again, they don't have to report what they're making on those ad spaces. So they may be filling those ad spaces directly with ads, directly with an advertiser for $5 and filling the rest of your ads at 80 cents, and they don't have to disclose that. But it's also one good way to go, because if you have 10 ad spaces and they're only taking 1 or 2 ad spaces, then that could be a smaller percentage. You just don't really know. The next thing that you'll want to ask is when do you get paid? So are there terms, are they net 30 from when they collect? Or are they net 45 or net 60 or net 90? Most advertisers are between net 30 and net 60, and most video advertisers are net 90. So if your ad network is going to pay you net 30 of when they get paid and their advertisers are net 60, that's going to put you at net 90. And so that's something really important to understand, because some people will get into an ad network and say, I can't believe I've never been paid. It's been a full quarter. So you need to plan accordingly with the cash flow, because these are your businesses. When those payments are going to come in, you're also going to want to know if they pay once a month, once a quarter, or do they pay directly when they get paid. Here at the Blogger Network, we pay twice a month. So we pay every 2 weeks, and you get paid on any payments that have already come in. So we have some advertisers that are net 23 and some that are net 60. And when the net 23 payments come in, then we'll pay on that next 2-week payment. So we try to get as much money into bloggers' pockets as quickly as we can, because we know that this is your business. And so having cash on hand is important.
So, and then another thing to ask your networks when they come, or when you are looking at joining one, is whether they pay you on a CPC, so like a click-through rate, like Google AdSense, or a CPM, like most industry does, by buying your ads in batches, because it can really depend. CPC means it's like free advertising for the provider unless someone clicks on your ad, and then typically you only get a small portion of it. But if you have a high click-through rate, like everybody's clicking on it, it could pay you more. But overall, we found that people who stick with the CPMs in the long run make more money.
Yep, with less risk. Okay, so now let's get into the other tools that your ad networks may be providing you. You'll want to ask if your network does provide other tools than just ads, because this is a factor of, why go to 10 different places for 10 things when you can go to 1 or 2 places that have maybe 5 things. And again, a lot of these other tools, they may have different terms of payment, terms of privacy for. So you just want to do your homework. For example, so the Blogger Network, we offer display ad service, but then we also offer a dedicated mobile template that's free. We are coming out with a video player very soon so that bloggers can actually monetize their videos a different way than YouTube that pay much more. We have like a content protection tool for people that want to copy and paste their content that's coming out. We offer sponsored posts every week from some of our largest brands. We have education and growth materials. We have a social media dashboard that's coming out. And we offer free troubleshooting, implementation, coding. I mean, if you get a new design and it crashes, we'll fix it. So you'll want to know if the ad networks that you're working with do come with other tools or other added benefits. And that, again, will just help you ask the right questions so that you're getting the most out of your ad network. And lastly, we're going to talk about time, which was part of our table of contents. It looks like I'm missing a slide. But how much time are you going to be saving by using an ad network or spending using an ad network?
So time is precious to all of us, right? That's why we recommend looking at the networks and see how much of those other tools and services they provide you, because it saves you time so you can do other things. Factors that affect it is the size of the site. Are you a 1 million page view a day sort of site, or 100 page view sort of site, just starting out and growing? How many ads do you have? Do you have 1 ad, or do you have 10 ads? Where are the ads placed? Are they in your content? Are they changing on every page, or are they consistent? Do you know how to do the coding, or will the provider that you're working with, are they willing to do the coding for you and manage that, as well as the sell relationships? As a network, we're able to get higher rates for each ad, as well as maintain stronger relationships with a vast number of providers, because we send them so many impressions, versus if it's just you, it's the same. You go to the store and just buy 1 TV, but if you were a store, you'd want to buy a pallet of TVs because it's cheaper and you have a better connection with them. So all of those factors factor into how much time it takes to run the ads. So we work with a lot of average size sites, and here are a few factors that we've seen just in the sites that we use. You have the implementation time and hours, going out, getting those relationships, getting them approved, installing the code, testing the code, making sure it works. Then you go into troubleshooting. If there's bad ads or stuff starts breaking, or you do a theme change, we've got to go back in and redo the ads or restart it or whatever it is. Or maybe switch you over to a new network that we build a new relationship with who's performing really well. Plus, every week, I work on Dennis's blog and a few others. You're saving between 2 to 12 hours a week on a blog, optimizing it by adjusting floors and triggers, which are what ad providers, the limits that we give them for where they can bid for a product before it's passed on to other networks, etc. And so all in all, we are here to save you time. Some providers are just more like an ad provider that you have to do all that yourself, and then you're missing out on the valuable time to create your own content or spend time with your family or do whatever that you love doing.
Yeah. So your ads can become a full-time job if you let them. Some ad networks just don't have the level of customer service, and so if changes need to be made, you'll be the one making it if you want them done quickly, or you'll have to spend lots of time beating down their door trying to get someone's attention. So time, bloggers are the busiest people that I've ever met. The bloggers that I've met, a lot of them work other jobs, or they stay home, which is like 10 jobs in one. And then they try to blog on the side, or they blog late at night, and their significant other tells them, when they stay up every night till 1 a.m., trying to get the next blog post out, or trying to, schedule all their pins or whatever it is. I mean, they really are like the busiest people that we've ever met. And so you want to make sure that you either have a fully managed solution, which is what we would recommend, versus an ad provider. And this just means, are they going to be taking care of everything from start to finish, your code to your reporting to troubleshooting or finding problems for you? Or are you working with more of an ad provider who will set you up, and it's kind of a plug and play where they'll set you up, and then, there's just not a lot of service on that back end.
Mm-hmm. Now, within the fully managed, there's two different types. There's a dedicated account rep, which I am, where you manage a handful of accounts every week, all the time. That's all you do, troubleshoot, work with the ads, etc. Account servicer is typically if it's just goes into the company and there's either a code or one person over 1,000 blogs, just making sure that nothing super unnatural happens in the code. And as long as everything kind of stays status quo, you're good. We believe that having that dedicated account rep is important to blogs and fulfilling their mission, because you're getting the best out of your network, and for the money, because you're paying them a commission that you can get.
And obviously the whole time savings thing, we're obviously very passionate about, because we believe in enabling publishers to, create the best content in the world and, live fulfilling lives. And a lot of times your blog can take over your life because it takes so much time. And if you're in that middle ground where you're not quite big enough to hire, but you're not quite small enough to ever take a day off, you're just busy all the time, and so we just try to be the monetization partner so you can grow your blog more. You'll have more time to write content or spend time with your families. So these are the ad network factors. We would love to welcome any questions that you might have. Please visit us at thebloggerNetwork.com, fill out like a contact us form, or tweet right at us, or send us an email directly just at Kyle@theblogger.network. So thanks for your time. I would love to hear any questions that you may have, Chef.
We do have some questions.
Awesome.
So let me go here.
There we go.
Okay. I'm getting a little from you.
Lag?
Is this working?
Yeah, let's see. Well, yeah, it is. Go now.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, I'll put these up. And it's Kim Boltman and Beth Lee both pretty much asked the same question. And they want to know, does the Blogger Network have a minimum number of page views required before they'll take a blog on as a client? And if so, how many? And Beth wanted to know, when does it make sense to join an ad network? How many views?
These are awesome questions. Thank you, Kim and Beth. So our current minimum is 80,000 page views per month. The good thing, this is a very private conversation, right? But we are creating a small blog solution, which is for anyone below that threshold. We are going to be able to offer ad services. They will not be as fully managed until you get to that 80,000 kind of benchmark, just so we can put bread on the table. So 80,000 is our current threshold. In terms of when does it make sense to use an ad network, you can consider AdSense an ad network. So I think that every blogger from day one should have AdSense at least, right? Whether you have 1 to 10 page views, you should get used to having ads on your site and working with the reporting and dealing with the ad code. For me, it makes sense the second that you want to really monetize your site and you fit some of those thresholds. I know that one of our really good partners, will, tell sites to wait a certain time, but we believe that bloggers should be monetizing from day one. So definitely start with AdSense, and then once you hit 80,000 page views, we would love to have you.
And a great thing about starting off early with AdSense or anything else is that it gets your readers accustomed to having the ads there. So even when you make the switch to an ad network who may be making you more than AdSense or anything else, it's not new to them. Like, well, bam, here's an ad in your face. But they realize that this is content, quality content. It takes time, and you're willing to share it to them for free by serving ads.
Yep. The other thing though is to Kim's question is, although we do have a size minimum, please click and fill out a join form for the Blogger Network, even if you're a little bit smaller, because then you will be able to hear the updates when we do drop those threshold sizes. We also do have an influencer program where you can already start getting sponsored posts without us having to manage your ads. You can just join our influencer community. And we'll be having a couple of other tools that will be available for blogs of any size. So regardless of your size, please sign up. And then once you do reach those thresholds, or once you do meet other qualifications for other opportunities, then you'll be in the know.
Exactly.
Sounds good. And here's a question from Eileen, and she wants to know, your network sounds fantastic. Is there a place for marketing bloggers, and mostly for food and family bloggers?
That's a great question, because I did mention mostly food bloggers, and that's because some of our founding partners are food bloggers. We have blogs of all different kinds. So we have everything from just viral content, like BuzzFeed type stuff, to professional service blogs. We have space and science blogs.
A few tech blogs, lifestyle blogs, food blogs. So we're a place where all of those blogs can come together and monetize their ads.
Yep.
I think the one thing to remember too is that everybody eats. So no matter what kind of blog you have,
It's
food ads,
Exactly. And I come from the marketing space, so I would love to see your blog as well. So that definitely sign up, and I will check it out. The only blog that we don't approve are blogs that don't follow Google's guidelines and policies. So explicit language, that's kind of over the top, violence, obviously pornography, viruses, and things like that.
Everything else, bring it on. You got it.
Here's a question from Roland, and is the dedicated or mobile template dedicated to mobile viewing only? What's it look like on standard monitors?
Great question. So it won't affect your standard desktop site at all.
You won't even see it because it calls from a different server. It's a different device. We set up those categorizations. So your desktop will look exactly the same. It's a small plugin for WordPress. Other templates, we use a little different thing. But when you go to your phone, it just looks like that site on mobile. So there isn't any weird, I don't know what you want to call it, but like interference between the two.
Yep. Yeah, it doesn't affect it at all.
Great. All right, here's a question from Scott Scowcroft, and it's for those of us who are clueless. Can Josh and Kyle describe typically what sort of revenue successful small, medium, and large bloggers might expect from ads?
That is an awesome question, Scott. That is the hardest. We get this question all the time because it makes sense, right? You want to be able to compare and start thinking, okay, if I get to this size, I'll make X, right? So a couple of simple calculations that you can do in your own head are going to be based on the performance that your ads get, and also how many page views you're getting, and then how many ads per page you have, right? So let's say that you have, just for the sake of simple math, you're going to have 5 ads, right? And let's say that your ad performance is going to be, maybe it'll be 80 cents, right? And then you're going to have 100,000 page views. Then you can do the math, to say, okay, if I have 80,000 page views at 5 ads, in fact, let me just pull up my phone because I'm a marketer, not a mathematician, and I don't want to say anything wrong. But let's say that I have 100,000 page views and I have 5 ads. So your total inventory is going to be 500,000 ad impressions, right? So then let's say due to breakage, due to early bounces, you're going to lose 10% of those. So you're going to have 450,000 ad impressions. And let's say that you make
80
80 cents, right? And then you're going to have to divide that number by 1,000.
1,000 is so that you get the CPM, right?
Yeah,
which is what everyone works on.
Right. So
that'd be about $360 a month.
Yeah.
And really, this is where the tricky part comes from. Obviously, as a network, we try and get our averages, fill rate as close to 100% as we can. We really try and get CPMs as high as possible. 80 cents is kind of our low lagging in for most of our blogs, but it depends solely, or not solely, but say 90% on your visitor quality. Who is coming to your site? Is it people from public computers who don't have any cookies, or is it someone who's always on the internet and have a bazillion cookies from Amazon or Best Buy or wherever they're going?
Yep. Yeah. So, I mean, and then also, it also depends on time of year. So during Q4, during December, those CPMs are going to be way higher and your page views are going to be higher. And then during the summer, when almost no one's online and all the marketers' budgets are prepping for winter, you're going to have lower CPMs. So it will take that you'll want to get, and then start looking at your numbers every month and say, okay, it looks like my baseline is about this.
And if you're willing to share your Google, which we love, we're kind of nerds that way. We could give you a ballpark, not any specifics, because it has to actually run to see it. That's where, in answer to your question, you'd be able to see what you can make as a small, medium, or large blog. Because we don't go to someone and then it doesn't pan out.
Yep. And if you have 8 ads or if you have 10 ads, then you're going to be making even more than that. To put it light, I mean, some of our blogs are $1 million blogs. Some of our blogs are $3 million blogs, and other of our blogs make $100,000 a year, and others make $30,000 a year,
and some maybe $200 a year.
It's just very variable. Again, with what you want, how many ads you put on your page, if you have rich media. Very, very tough question to ask, but a very good question.
So I hope that helps a little bit.
Well, I think it does, because you're really the first people that ever answer that question. I mean, nobody ever wants to talk about how much money they're making or what they can make. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
But so guys, that was really informative. That was a great session. We had some really good questions, and I do want to talk to you about the mobile ads later on. So we'll get a hangout or something to talk about that, because I need to do some work on my mobile ads, I believe. So it's good for everybody.
And then I can send you that ebook link so that anybody that is interested in that mobile ebook.
Great. Sounds good. Well, thanks again, guys, and thanks everyone for watching. It's been a great session, and I will be back in just about 55 minutes with Ronnie Bincer, the Hangout Helper, for session 5 of today's conference. So I'll see you all real soon. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, guys.